How sporting director Richard Hughes plotted post-Jurgen Klopp life and record-breaking summer spend. Gareth Taylor's Merseyside Derby preview, what an opener, and a great opportunity. Luis Fernando Jubel joins LFC in key player development role. Now let's hear the details. Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Richard Hughes took on the seemingly impossible job when agreeing to become Liverpool's sporting director in March last year. This summer the Scot has broken the British transfer record by signing Alexander Isak, while overseeing the biggest transfer spend in the club's history. This is how he did it. After Michael Edwards agreed to return to Liverpool under a new, expanded brief of Chief Executive of Football for Fenway Sports Group, FSG, in March 2024, the very first thing he did was pick up the phone to Hughes, on gardening leave at the time having just decided to quit as Bournemouth's technical director. The duo's close relationship dates back some 20 years to when Hughes was a hard-working midfielder and captain of Harry Redknapp's exciting Portsmouth side and Edwards a performance analyst on the South Coast, with the two, both deep thinkers, striking up an immediate bond over analyzing the game. Not officially due to start his role until June 2024, and with a to-do list that not only included negotiating new contracts for three of Liverpool's biggest stars, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah, but also somehow finding a successor to Jurgen Klopp, the new man appeared to have been handed a hospital pass. The latter was the more urgent priority given Klopp's near-decade-long stay at Anfield was coming to an end, although Liverpool had already been dealt a blow with the news Xabi Alonso, their former midfielder who had been heavily tipped to replace the German, would be staying as Bayer Leverkusen manager. Ruben Amorim, one of Europe's most sought-after young coaches having guided Sporting Lisbon to the brink of a second Portuguese title, was now reportedly the front-runner for the role, but Hughes had other ideas. Having pored over the data supplied to him by the club's director of research, Will Spearman, Hughes knew there was only one candidate he wanted to speak to and in April flew to the Netherlands to meet Feyenoord head coach Arne Slot at his home in Zwolle. The Dutchman had scored highly when it came to both improving players and keeping them fit, while importantly unlike with Amorim, he played the same formation and style of football as Klopp. Slot has recounted how Hughes came to that first meeting armed with huge folders of detailed information on him and his team, joking the Scot knew stuff about him even he did not. Richard knew many games and many of the assessments I've made during games, the changes I made in tactics. There was not a stone unturned. Arne Slot says on his first meeting with Richard Hughes. Liverpool were so clear they wanted to have me, and they knew everything about me, he said. Immediately it was, okay. Richard knew many games and many of the assessments I've made during games, the changes I made in tactics. Julian Ward, FSG's technical director, visited the Feyenoord training ground and spoke with a lot of people trying to get some knowledge for the club and how I worked. There was not a stone unturned. To the outside world, Slot's appointment was viewed as a risk given he had relatively little Champions League experience and only won 2 major trophies in Holland. Hughes, though, backed his judgment, just as he did when taking the unpopular decision not to stick with his friend Gary O'Neill as Bournemouth manager in the summer of 2023, but to go with the relatively unknown Basque Andoni Iraola. Both would turn out to be shrewd appointments. However, with Liverpool's underwhelming summer 2024 transfer window seeing the arrival of only 2 players, one of whom in Georgi Mamardashvili immediately loaned out and the other in Federico Chiesa arriving under an injury cloud, the pressure from outside was already mounting. Hughes' early standing with the club supporters was not helped either by his failure to get the £51 million Martin Zubimendi deal over the line after flying to Spain in August, having been assured by the holding midfielder he wanted to move to Anfield, only for a late change of heart from the Spain international. However, while many Red supporters fumed over the club's lack of transfer activity, Hughes stayed cool in the knowledge Slot's training ground coaching, including the pivotal decision to drop Ryan Gravenberch back as a number 6, would improve a squad which had led the Premier League table at the start of that April. And so the duo agreed to play the 2024-25 season with Klopp's squad, allowing Slot to make judgment calls on players at the end of that campaign. Jurgen left the team in a good place and we are trying to build from there, said Slot on the eve of the season. We're not changing everything. Actually, we didn't change that much because many things were already good. Either way, all eyes were on Hughes in the opening weeks of the campaign to see how the team would perform without Klopp on the touchline, but despite Slot making a record-breaking start to life as Liverpool head coach, the Scot now needed to secure the futures of the club's big three. Van Dijk, Sulla and Alexander-Arnold's contracts all expired the following summer, meaning all three could start negotiating with foreign clubs as early as January 2025. Hughes confided he was hopeful of keeping one of the trio, but as the season progressed, even that prospect looked bleak with Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk's camps both silent, unlike Sulla, who revealed no one from Liverpool had talked to him and it would probably be his last season at the club in an on-pitch interview with Sky after a 3-0 win at Old Trafford in September. The Egypt forward, in the midst of his best-ever season at Anfield, kept the heat on Hughes by revealing he had still to be offered a new deal and was probably more out than in after his double helped keep the Reds top of the Premier League with a comeback win at Southampton last November. The Glaswegian has a reputation as a fierce negotiator, who is ice-cool even in the most pressurized situations, described by one agent as a robot, while his detailed knowledge of the game is a huge asset when it comes to getting a deal over the line. Hughes speaks 4 languages after growing up in Milan, where his father Kevin worked for Penguin Books and would take a young Richard, by then picked up by Atlanta's famed academy, to San Siro to watch Arrigo Sacchi's great AC Milan side of the late 80s and early 90s. These skills and knowledge would come in handy as Hughes continued to seek a breakthrough in negotiations with the trio's agents, including Rami Abbas, the tough Colombia-born lawyer who represented Sulla. Van Dijk and soon-to-be crowned double footballer of the year Sulla eventually agreed new 2-year deals in April as the Reds closed in on the title, and although Hughes was unable to persuade Alexander-Arnold to extend his stay with his boyhood club, keeping 2 out of 3 still represented a fine achievement from the Scot. Hughes barely had time to sit back and bask in the glow of Liverpool's record-equaling 20th top-flight title, masterminded by the coach he had brought to Anfield, before unusually for a team that has just been crowned champions, embarking on a major summer rebuild spearheaded by Florian Wirtz's arrival from Bayer Leverkusen. The best young player in Germany was expected to join either Bayern Munich or Man City, only for Hughes, along with Slot and Edwards, to convince the 22-year-old his future instead lay at Anfield with another in-depth pitch to him and his parents. It was not easy for me to decide, but I think the talks with the coach and Richard and everybody were, from the start or from the very first time, so good, and it just kept going like this, Wirtz said of his decision to join Liverpool in a then British record £116 million move in May. Every time I spoke to one of the people from the club I felt like, this is the place I want to be, and so in the end I was really 100% convinced I want to join Liverpool and it was the best choice. Wirtz's shock arrival bore all hallmarks of the sort of audacious transfers Edwards used to regularly pull off during his time as Hughes' predecessor, such as Van Dijk's arrival for a world record fee for a defender before the 2018 January window had even opened. However, the data from Spearman and his team told Hughes this was a generational talent Liverpool could simply not pass up on if the opportunity arose, despite the eye-watering numbers involved, as was also the case with Alexander Isak's stunning move from Newcastle United. Slot's side scored a league-high 86 goals en route to last season's Premier League, before signing France striker Hugo Ekitike in July for £79 million to replace the departing Darwin Núñez in a move Hughes laid the groundwork for the previous summer, leading some to question why the Reds needed another number 9. According to their statistical models, though, the Swede ranked alongside only Kylian Mbappé and Erling Haaland when it came to Europe's top marksmen, resulting in a summer-long transfer pursuit made more spicy by the fact Newcastle manager Eddie Howe is one of Hughes' closest friends from their playing days at Fratton Park and then Bournemouth. Business is business, however, with Hughes putting aside a 2-decades-long association to get a British record transfer over the line, even after the window had officially shut on transfer deadline day. That £125 million Isaac deal took the champions spending this window to a record £446 million, also easily surpassing their own previous highest total of £177 million under Edwards after Klopp's side had just won the Champions League in the summer of 2019. Hughes, though, has also managed to bring in an eye-catching £218.4 million from player sales this summer, on top of the £62.5 million he generated in his first-ever window in charge, meaning incredibly, the Reds' net spend, £218.4m, was actually less than Arsenal's, £257m. For Hughes, it has been pretty much non-stop since taking up the role, barely having time to holiday with his wife and 5 kids in Crete, before working till the conclusion of deadline day to get the Marc Guéhi move finalized, only to miss out on the defender when Crystal Palace pulled the plug late on. Meanwhile, in recent days Hughes also had to negotiate James McConnell's new deal and loan to Ajax, as well as a contract extension for Cody Gakpo, and he must now turn his attention to persuading Ibrahima Konate to commit his long-term future to the club. But that can all wait as the Liverpool sporting director enjoys a well-earned international break, before no doubt trying to resurrect the Guéhi deal when the window reopens in January. Gareth Taylor's Merseyside Derby preview, what an opener, and a great opportunity. Gareth Taylor is relishing the prospect of his first competitive match in charge of Liverpool FC women being a Merseyside derby at Anfield. Appointed as the team's new head coach last month, Taylor will lead his side into the 2025-26 Barclays Women's Super League season in special circumstances on Sunday. Everton will take the short trip to the iconic stadium for a lunchtime kick-off, 12 p.m. British summer time, that the boss sees as an exciting challenge to begin the new campaign. It's great. I thought it was a fantastic way to start, Taylor told LiverpoolFC.com, speaking at a Q&A event with supporters at Anfield on Tuesday. After that we play 2 away fixtures. I think to start at Anfield is top class. What a season opener that is, to start on TV against your rivals. It's a really good opportunity for us to make a good start, and I think take away the result, regardless of what happens. I think what we want to do is put on a good performance. Obviously by doing that it gives us a much improved opportunity to win the game. Of course, we're not expecting it to be a free-flowing game. We know what derbies are like, they're tense. There's very little constructive football played, I would say. It's a bit more about passion and endeavor and hard work. One thing I will say about this group of players is they're incredibly hardworking and they're very passionate about playing for this football club. I think that's huge. We're all supremely proud to be here representing the club, and on Derby Day we really want to do it for our supporters. While the squad have regularly run out at Anfield for fixtures in recent seasons, the occasion is set to be a particularly special first for Taylor himself. And he hopes to extend a positive personal record against the Blues as a manager, having won 8 of his previous 9 WSL matches in opposition. It will be special. There's no denying that, said the 52-year-old. One of the big pulls in coming here was these type of moments to work for a club that is steeped in history. I certainly think when I come to the end of my coaching career or my days, I will certainly look back on that with pride in the clubs I represented as a player but also as a head coach. Liverpool is just such a dream for me. To be here in this moment and to have an opportunity is just sensational, and I'll be really proud on Sunday and I'll continue to be proud throughout the whole season. It's a nice record to have, against Everton, but it's one that probably doesn't apply to this job. Sometimes you have performances against teams where you get the result you require and sometimes you don't get the result. I think it's all about how can we progress forward and how can we start to see some of the things we saw in pre-season, some of the positive things, and can we see that in the game on Sunday and can we use what we're good at. We want to become one of the best pressing teams in Europe. I know that's really subjective, but for us it's something we have got to work on and build on to play fast attacking football, as well as also being a team that is able to get the ball back really quickly. Taylor has now been in position for almost a month, with Liverpool contesting 5 pre-season friendlies as part of their preparations since. A 1-0 victory away at Birmingham City last weekend followed a mini training camp in Cork for the players, as sights are now firmly focused on the real action ahead. "We've covered a lot," said Taylor. "The players have been sensational. People have been great and they've really helped to hit the ground running. We're also a few days out from the transfer window, deadline, which is always a tense time. Teams are trying to strengthen and get ready for the season. We would have liked a little bit longer in the preseason, but I think the things we have done so far have been really good. The players have been really receptive to trying new things. But we're kind of at the start of a new project and it's exciting, but also there's a lot of work to be done." Luis Fernando Jubel joins LFC in key player development role. Liverpool FC can confirm the appointment of Luis Fernando Jubel to a new role focused on the development and transition of the club's elite young players. The 36-year-old has joined the Reds as PDP Individual Development Lead Coach and begins work on Merseyside this week. A holder of the UEFA A Elite Youth and CONMEBOL Pro licenses, Jubel arrives with plenty of experience in nurturing emerging talent from his time as a head coach and assistant in Brazil's Serie A. He has coached at Vasco da Gama, Serra, Bahia, Ponte Preta, Coritiba, Juventude, Atlético Mineiro and Cuiabá, winning multiple state championships and guiding the latter to the Mato Grosso title in 2024 during a spell as interim boss. Jubel was also a tactical analyst for Germany during their silver medal campaign at the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. At Liverpool, he will act as a methodological lead on individual development plans to ensure clear alignment across the club's senior team, loan, U21 and U18 training groups. The role will involve him working closely with academy coaches to provide a joined-up pathway from the Kirkby setup to loans and then into the senior team. That will also see him connect with the loan support team and other clubs, maintaining direct contact with players developing away from the Reds. Jubel studied physical education, business administration and communication at Berea College in the USA. He then took part in a post-graduation course in high-performance football coaching at the Faculty of Human Kinetics in Lisbon. A dual citizen of Brazil and Germany, Jubel is fluent in English and Portuguese, with additional knowledge of Spanish and German.